going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge with myself and Max. Last episode, we did the NBA's all time Mount Rushmore by position. And today, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to rank the players by position, but we're going to stick to the current players only. And we are ranking based off of the players' capabilities to help a team win this coming season. So, we're not including players' legacies. So, a player like Damian Lillard, for example, he probably has a top five resume among current point guards, but it'll be hard pressed to make a case for him as a top five current point guard. We're also excluding players who are going to miss, or probably going to miss the majority, if not all of the year because of injury. So players like Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum will not be featured in this ranking, and Damian Lillard, for as we just mentioned him. And yeah, that's our ranking criteria. Max, anything you want to add?
No, I'm ready to get into it. Yeah, I'm excited. Five people this time, so the Mount Rushmore was four. We're ranking top five, and we also have these listed in order. So the Mount Rushmore episode last time, we didn't really have a 1, 2, 3, 4. We kind of just put our names out there. This time, we will be actually ranking them best to worst in our opinions. And yeah, let's get started. I recommend we start with the center and work our way up today instead of point guard and down. What do you think?
All right, we can start with the 7 footers. I'm game for that.
All right. I'll give you the floor then. Alex, who is your top five current centers right now in the NBA?
All right, well, starting off with our 7 footers at the number 5 position, and I was going back and forth between this guy and Jarrett Allen, but I decided to go with Alperen Şengün. And I think a big reason of why I decided to go with Şengün is because of his showing in the EuroLeague over the summer, helping Turkey to a second place medal. He not only helped them, he was the leader of that team, the best player on Turkey's international team. And Şengün, as only a 23-year-old, already has an All-Star appearance and is one of the key core pillars of this up-and-coming Houston Rockets franchise. Şengün is only going to get better. He's young. I don't think he's hit anywhere close to his ceiling in terms of playmaking ability yet. And I think he has a lot more room to grow than Jarrett Allen, which I think was also kind of helped me separate between the two. And that's no knock on Jarrett Allen. Great center, and you could very well make a case for him. I would not be surprised to hear him on your list. At number 4, I have Karl Anthony Towns of the New York Knicks. Took a big step last year, the Big Bodega, in his first year in the Big Apple. He had this not more of a reputation of sorts on the Timberwolves as being a soft center. He completely turned that around, showing physicality on the Knicks, helping them to their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years. And Cat should only continue to gel better with Brunson, with Hart, and company. The more time he has to practice with them after a full offseason with them that he's going to get this year. At the 3rd position, I have Victor Wembanyama. And you might think that's a little bit high for a 21-year-old, but I think Victor's year 3 leap is going to be sensational. I think he's going to establish himself as an indisputable top 10 player in the league this year, if not top 5. The offseason that he's had, he's done everything that you want in a centerpiece. He's gotten stronger physically. He's gotten stronger mentally. I mean, he's going to older vets like Kevin Garnett, Jamal Crawford for advice to improve his game. I mean, he is doing everything you want in a centerpiece. And I think he's already a top 3 center in the league as a 21-year-old. And I think at the end of this year, he could very well make a case for 2 or even the number 1 spot. But the top 2 spots in the center position are both held by former MVPs, with 2 being Joel Embiid and 1 being Jokic. The 2 have been the top 2 in the center position for at least the last half decade, if not longer. And Before Nikola Jokic's 3rd MVP, you could very well have made a case for Embiid at 1. But I think Jokic getting that 3rd MVP and Embiid's availability issues in recent years has kind of increased the divide between the two. But I think as of right now, today, Jokic and Embiid are still clear 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree. Our lists feature 4 of 5 players that you mentioned, and my 1-2 is identical. Jokic 1, Embiid 2 for me. I almost considered leaving Embiid off my list based off our injury criteria, but I do expect him to start the season healthy, and so I think he is the clear-cut second best center in the league, only behind the best player in the league, and that is Nikola Jokic. As for the 3-4, I have the same players you did, only I flip-flop them. I have Cat at 3, and I have Wemby at 4. I think what Cat did last year with the Knicks just proved himself that he can perform at the highest level. And I think that is the best version of Cat that we're going to see in his career was last year. And I still have not seen Wemby's best yet. So heading into the season, I do think Cat is a little bit above him in my rankings. But I agree, Wemby down the line, I anticipate being better than Cat. And I wouldn't be surprised if I did this ranking next year, having Wemby at 3 and Cat at 4. When it comes to number 5, I do not have Şengün. I have a dude that you didn't even mention, and that's Bam Adebayo. This guy is a multiple-time All-Star, and what really separated him from me over Jared Allen and Şengün is that he's a two-way player. Jared Allen mostly dominates on defense, and while most of his buckets are easy, and he doesn't have a very versatile offensive game, and Şengün is the opposite. He has one of the most versatile offensive games in the league right now. Led the Houston Rockets to the 2nd seed last year, but he doesn't really play much defense. So I combined the two, and that was Bam Adebayo for me, sneaking into the 5 spot. That was a very difficult one for me. Bam has proven that he performs well in the playoffs on multiple Miami teams, being second fiddle to Jimmy Butler many of those years. He was able to win games and win series that the Miami Heat had no business winning. And so his proven track record in the playoffs and just his 94-foot game put him in my list at 5.
I considered Adebayo for a bit, but what led me astray from Adebayo is looking at the All-Star voting from last year. I mean, Jarrett Allen and Alperen Şengün were both All-Stars, and Bam Adebayo was not. His game, as well as the Heat as a whole, took a bit of a hit last year. I don't know if we've already seen Bam at his peak, and he's now entering a regression stage, because he is very close to 30 years old. I think he's 29. But looking at last year, Bam didn't make the All-Star game while the other two did. And if I had to pick a center to help me win next year, I would go with the aforementioned Şengün or Jarrett Allen over Adebayo. Another snub that I want to mention is a guy who gets snubbed from seemingly every single NBA award, Domantas Sabonis. This guy might be the most underrated player in today's NBA. He is a walking double-double. He led the league in rebounds last year. He's as an almost 20 points per game scorer. He is single-handedly keeping the Kings relevant because the Kings are seemingly desperate to go 42-42 and lose in the 10th and losing the 9-10 play-in match. That's what the Kings seem to be doing. Their offseason moves, acquiring basically the Bulls of the last 5 years, acquiring Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, doesn't make sense. Sabonis is by far the centerpiece of the Kings, the best player on the Kings, and you very well could make a case for him as a top 5 center.
Yeah, I agree. Sabonis is a guy that I also considered, but I think he's a worse version of Şengün, in my opinion. They have very similar games, and I think Şengün is just a little bit better than Sabonis, and that's why I didn't mention him, comparing him to Bam and Jarrett Allen. But yes, he does get snubbed from every list, it seems like, for no reason whatsoever. And the Kings, just straight mediocrity. He needs to go on a better team, in my opinion.
It's like the NBA is snubbing Domantas Sabonis. We're no different. We're no better. But yeah, let's get
I don't
on
know
to
if we're
power forwards
snubbing
now.
him.
Max, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to start at 5 this time. I started at 1 last list. So 5 for me is Evan Mobley. I thought he took a really big step last year, playing alongside Jarrett Allen and being really a focal point of the offense. I love that he developed his offensive game. Love that he developed a jump shot. I thought that was a real threat that Cleveland was able to use. He doesn't need to be the best shooter on the team, but this year, teams will not be leaving him open from 3. I expect him to be better from 3 than he was last year, and I really do think that Evan Mobley is going to take another step offensively because we know defensively he's a top 5 player in the league. At 4, I have Pascal Siakam. I was really impressed by what Pascal did in the playoffs last year with Indiana, and everyone was so happy and so excited to talk about Tyrese Halliburton and the crazy fourth quarter shots that he was hitting. But if Siakam didn't play as good as he did the first 3 quarters of all those games, Halliburton would not have been able to take over in the fourth. And that is something that people did not talk about enough in the playoffs. I thought Siakam was that guy that could really steady the ship whenever another team went on a run. The Pacers always went to Pascal. And I think his resume before getting to Indiana and what he helped the Raptors do as well is the reason why he's at 4 for me. Number 3, I have Paolo Banchero. This was really tough. I almost flip-flopped him at 2, but I decided at 3 for a similar reason to why I picked Bam, and that's just because the guy I have at 2 is a little more proven in the playoffs and I think a little bit more dominant in his prime. Paolo has yet to reach his prime, and so that's why I have him at 3, but he is one of the best players in the league, one of the most versatile skill sets. That kid can do it all, and he's going to be an MVP candidate real soon, I think. And number 2 is a guy who's been an MVP candidate before, a guy who I said has been a proven finals player, playoff player, and that's Anthony Davis. You could argue that he's a center, but I'm putting him in the power forward position because that's when he's at his best. And I think he's the second best power forward in the league when healthy. I expect him and Cooper Flagg to dominate this year as a duo, where Anthony Davis will most likely be playing the 5, but I think Flagg should play the 5 and Davis should play the 4. That's just my opinion. And then number 1, the Greek freak Giannis. I think a consensus number 1 power forward in the league. I don't really need to explain that because Alex will not stop talking about this guy, and I'll let him lead us off with his reasoning for having Giannis number 1.
So before I lead off with the obvious reasoning as to why Giannis is number 1, we actually have the same exact 5 players in the power forward position, which I thought was pretty interesting. The order is a little bit different, but having the same top 5 consensus players for the power forward, I don't know. That's got to mean something. But I do have the same 1 and 2 as you. Giannis and AD at 1 and 2. Giannis, a clear-cut consensus member of the all-time power forward Mount Rushmore. Even though it might not be clear-cut and consensus between us.
Not here.
But
not on this podcast.
Yeah, Giannis, 2-time MVP, led the Bucks to a championship, averaged 30 points a game the last 5-6 years, and his game does not appear to be slowing down anytime soon. In fact, he only appears to be adding more to his arsenal. His mid-range looked absolutely lethal over the summer with the EuroLeague. And yes, the argument can be made that the skill level is a lot lower, but in reality, how many players in the NBA are capable of guarding Giannis to begin with? Add a mid-range to him, it's not going to be it's 0. Exactly. 0 players in any league across the world. Doesn't matter if it's NBA or EuroLeague. No one can guard Giannis. Give this man a mid-range, clear-cut number 1. AD at number 2. Max, I think you explained his case pretty well. Former MVP candidate, still arguably a top 10 player in the league. When he's healthy, he can be the number 1 option. When he's healthy, he is one of the best two-way players in the league. The issue is with a statement I've been emphasizing: when he's healthy, if he's healthy, because Anthony Davis's injury struggles are definitely a big part, has played a big storyline throughout his career. But it should be interesting to see what he does with Cooper Flagg. I'm shocked that you said play Flagg at the 5 when they have Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively available at the 5. I think Flagg would be perfect at the 3, Davis at the 4, and one of those two at the 5. I don't think Flagg at 6'8" will be able to handle the physicality, at least in his rookie year, that other 7-foot bruisers will bring. But regardless, it's about Anthony Davis. The Mavericks should be an interesting team to watch. I hope Anthony Davis stays healthy this year. He's my number 2. And now we have the same 3 players at 3 and 5, but the order is different. At number 3, I actually have Evan Mobley. Like you said, I love the offensive improvement that his game took last year. His first 2 years, he was kind of made his mark as a defensive stalwart with offensive flashes here and there. His third year, he kind of put it all together, as he's also the reigning defensive player of the year, which as a 23-year-old is definitely impactful to be voted the best defender among your peers when you're that young. I think Mobley's game can only improve from here. I actually see the potential for a Giannis-like trajectory, where his offensive game in his first couple of years wasn't as developed as his defensive, but it could slowly mold into that. I mean, Mobley is a physical specimen. He's 7 foot, he's quick, he's long, he's athletic. It doesn't seem like he's anywhere close to his ceiling, and I think Evan Mobley could very well help the Cavs advance past the Eastern Conference semifinals this year. 4, I have Paolo. It was tough choosing between Mobley and Paolo. I just think Mobley has a higher ceiling, which you disagree with. You think Paolo's an MVP candidate. And this isn't no knock on Paulo. I mean, like you said, fantastic player, skill set, can do it all. And I see a little bit of LeBron James in Paulo's game in terms of his physicality. What I want to see more out of Paulo is drives to the lane. I mean, he's 6'10 of pure solid muscle. I think he's settled too much for mid-range and three-point jump shots. And his scoring average could go way up if he would just attack the paint and either get an easy layup or get to the free throw line. I think that's a big step in Paulo's game, and just developing more of an interior game for the physical specimen that he is, for his physique. That is absolutely necessary for him to become an MVP candidate. But it is not without the realm of possibility. He's an absolute star. He's young. He's only going to get better, much like Mobley. And it was really a toss-up between the two. 5, that's where I have Pascal Siakam. A point that you mentioned that I really like, everyone was talking about Tyrese Halliburton's clutch fourth quarter performances, but Pascal Siakam was the best player for the Indiana Pacers in their playoff run. And it frustrated me how underlooked it was. Yes, it was exciting seeing Halliburton hit every clutch shot, but in a few of those games where he was hitting clutch shot, he had barely scraped over double-digit points. He would have like 12 points and 5 assists. It wasn't like he was making a statistical impact. And then you look at Siakam, who was averaging 25, 30 a game throughout the playoffs. I mean, he led the Pacers to the finals. He deserves all the credit in the world for that. And yeah, Pascal deserves a 5 spot. Shout out to Jason Tatum. He would have made this list if he wasn't in.
Yeah, he would have definitely made this list. I think I would have included him as a small forward instead of a power forward. But that's for another debate.
Jaylen Brown as a small forward, but
on that team, yes. But I think in general, I would still classify Jason Tatum as a small forward. But that's for another debate. I want to harp on the Cooper Flag at the 5 idea a little bit more. One, that is predicated solely on the offensive side of the ball. I think if you have schematically Flag play as the 5 and have Anthony Davis dominate as the 4, I think that will help you a lot. Defensively, I still think you can match up AD on the tallest player. But Flag will struggle with his height, and putting Flag at the 3 with Davis and Gafford is going to be a shooting nightmare on offense. And I think in the modern NBA, that is something that they will not do, at least to start the season. Play all 3 of them at the same time, I think is a nightmare. So when Anthony Davis is on the bench and Cooper Flag is in the game, I agree, put Flag at the 4. But when they're both in, I think to maximize Anthony Davis's potential this season and in future seasons, you have to play him at the 4. And if that means sacrificing a couple inches at the center position, so be it. That was kind of my mindset behind that take.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's a good argument. I mean, the Mavericks are going to be one of the more interesting teams just because we rarely see a team in this sort of position. I mean, we have the Mavericks who have 2 all-time players on their team, and Kyrie and Anthony Davis, who just were able to draft a generational talent at number 1. We don't see number 1 overall picks that are able to compete in the playoffs in their first year. I mean, this is rare, and that's what makes the Mavericks such a fascinating team to pay attention to this year.
I agree. And going off your Pascal take, he was the best player. Halliburton was the most exciting and the most clutch, but that doesn't mean he's the best in that run. And I think it was Siakam as well. All right, moving on to the small forward position. This one was really tough for me, and I had my list set ready, and then I remembered another name, and I was like, oh shit, I got to add him in there, and then it was a whole thing. So Alex, I'll let you kick us off here at the small forward position, top 5. Go ahead.
Well, now I'm worried I'm forgetting a guy, but we'll make a run at it. At number 5, there were like 5 different guys I could have put here, but I decided to go with Scotty Barnes on the Raptors. I don't feel great about that as a top 5 player, but it was really hard for me to make a case for anybody else. I mean, Scotty has an all-star game on his resume, is a jack of all trades. He's a multiple-time 20 points per game scorer, the best player on the Raptors. The thing that is hindering Scotty from moving up the list, and the reason that I don't think you have him on, is the lack of team success that he's had. The Raptors have not been, I don't even think they've made the playoffs since Scotty's been on the team. So if he's able to take that leap as a leader and as the number 1 option on the Raptors and take them to the playoffs, I think it is a very clear case for Scotty at the 5. And I do think, a bit of a spoiler for our predictions, but I do think Scotty Barnes will do that this year. That's why I have him at number 5. Number 4, I have Jaylen Brown, who, again, could be argued that he's a shooting guard. I have him as a small forward. But Brown, especially this year with Tatum out, as a clear-cut number 1 Celtics option, is another very, very interesting player to watch. I've never seen Jaylen Brown lead an offense on his own. He's had Tatum on as his number 1 option basically throughout his career. He's been an elite number 2 option. Can he carry the Celtics as their primary scoring option? That is a big question this year for the Celtics. But Brown, as a talent, I don't think there's 5 small forwards in the league that are better than Jaylen Brown. Multiple-time All-Star, was an Eastern Conference and a Finals MVP on his resume. And yes, he's kind of getting towards the older side. I think he's about to turn 30. So we're probably seeing the prime of Jaylen Brown. So if this is the best year of Jaylen Brown that we're going to get, I'm very glad. Well, I'm not very glad because of Tatum's injury, but I'm glad that he's going to add the option to lead an offense. It'll be interesting to see what he does with that. Number 3, and I think there is a clear-cut top 3 in the small forward position. At 3, I have Kawhi Leonard. Not much I need to explain there in terms, and the only reason he has 3 is because of the 2 names that are above him are absolutely loaded. I mean, a bit of a spoiler, but when you're behind Kevin Durant and LeBron James, that's not really a small knock on Kawhi. I mean, those are 2 players that basically anybody would be behind. But Kawhi, I mean, actually, I do want to talk about Kawhi for a little bit because he's been in some drama that we've seen recently, and I think now that he's mentioned, it's a good time to talk about it. It's been reported by SportsCenter's Pablo Estore that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers have been not being completely upfront with his contract. He took a less than maximum value deal when he signed with the Clippers, and it was reported that he actually was illegally paid when he was not allowed to be by the owner, Steve Ballmer, signing him to an endorsement deal with a fake company, a company that doesn't even exist. So the Clippers are under fire for that. Kawhi is under fire for that. The Clippers could very well lose multiple first-round picks in the recent years. Kawhi could be fined an unprecedented amount of money and even forced to leave the Clippers because of this financial dishonesty. And this could very well be a knock on his career, on Kawhi Leonard's career. I mean, he's a great player, multiple defensive player of the year, 2-time champion, 2 Finals MVP. But a lot of people are going to look back at Kawhi's career and think of injuries and think of this situation with the Clippers. And it's not a good look for him. Anyways, he's my number 3 small forward right now. Number 2, I have LeBron James. And I never thought I would see the day where I'm not putting LeBron James at number 1 in his position, but here we are. LeBron, number 2 in his age 40 year, still a top 10 player in the league, but I don't think with Luka Doncic on the team that he is going to be the he's not going to be the number 1 option offensively for the Lakers this year. I mean, he is 40, his game is still incredibly high, but it is getting worse. He's not Miami Heat LeBron anymore, right? It's father time is undefeated. Not much he can do about that. For him to still be in this conversation at 40 is not only unbelievable, but unprecedented. No other player in the NBA has had a prime last this long. But at number 1 position, and I only put him here because I think that he will be the number 1 option on his team, is Kevin Durant. And then the argument could be made that Kevin Durant is a power forward. So you didn't have him in the top 5 of power forward, so I'm assuming he's on your small forwards list too. But KD, I expect to be the 1 option on the Rockets team this year, and LeBron, I expect to be 2 on the Lakers. That's the only reason I have KD up as number 1. But I don't think I need to explain the case for either of those 2. They're a clear-cut number 1 and number 2, regardless of what order you have them in.
Yeah, I agree. My orders flip-flopped. Solely on the mindset of if I had to pick one, I'm still going with the king. I'm sorry. Like I think if the Rockets, maybe this isn't true, but I think if the Rockets could choose KD or LeBron, I think they would take LeBron too. I think a lot of teams would do that. If they had the choice between both of them, I think they would take LeBron. And so that's where I am. I'm putting LeBron.
That's not a bad take at all.
I'm putting LeBron at 1. Surely off that mindset. I agree that Luka will be the number 1 option in LA this year. And for better or for worse, we'll see how that plays out for them. But I still think that the top 5 small forwards in today's game, I still think that list starts with LeBron James. And I don't know how much explaining I have to do. He's the 2nd greatest player of all time. And even though Father Time is undefeated, LeBron won multiple battles against Father Time. Father Time will win the war, but he's won multiple battles against Father Time, which not a lot of players can say they do that. And I still would have LeBron as the best small forward in the game. 2, I have Kevin Durant, another guy who's creeping up in age, but he's still the most efficient player in the league. Every shot he takes seems to go in, which is obscene why he doesn't take more shots. But I think that's just his best skill is his efficiency. And it's something that players that look to take that next step never really unlock in their game, is taking good shots and be able to make every good shot you take. It is truly remarkable, something that Kevin Durant has mastered, and he is the best at it in this game, in my opinion. Now this is where my list gets weird, like really weird, because you said a clear-cut top 3, and your boy Kawhi isn't even on my list. So this is gonna.
Interesting.
This is gonna.
Why'd you leave him off? Was it injuries, or do you just not think he's top 5 anymore?
I think that he isn't top 5. I think the 3 guys I'm about to name are better. I would take over Kawhi, and one of them you may argue isn't a small forward, but I'm gonna argue that it is. So at 3, I have a guy you mentioned, and that's Jaylen Brown. I think he's going to be really, really good this year, and I think he's going to prove that the gap between him and Tatum is not as big as a lot of people want to believe. I just think the system that he's in and the culture that the Celtics have of building around Jason Tatum, that's the narrative, right? But Jaylen Brown is just as good as Jason Tatum, in my opinion. He is a very versatile player who is one of the best defenders in the league. People don't give him enough credit for that. He is an insane defender. I would argue that of the 5 guys that I have listed, he's the best defender of the 5 that I have listed on here. And I think that's going to go a long way this season. I think he's going to take the role of number 1 option to heart. He's going to relish in this role. I think he's going to prove to Boston and to the rest of the teams that, like, if Tatum gets hurt again or if Tatum's having an off night, you better worry about 7. Like, you better worry about number 7 because he is that good. So I have him at 3. Originally I had him at 2 over Kevin Durant, but I couldn't do that. I switched him last second because I couldn't do that. All right, number 4, this guy, you could argue this guy's a shooting guard, and I will hear that argument. However, this past season, he played the 3 a lot, and that is Jalen Williams on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think again, similar to Brown, defense sets him apart. And I think Kawhi has taken a step back defensively ever since he's been a Clipper. With the injuries, with the off-court issues, whatever. Jalen Williams defensively is a stud. Offensively, he is no slouch either. And I didn't think he was that good last year. I thought he was kind of getting carried by the fast pace and Shea and the system. But when it came down to it in the playoffs, he made big play after big play on both sides of the court. And that's why I included him on this list, because I think coming into this season, he should only be better, right? Similar to Paolo and similar to Wemby, he hasn't even entered his prime yet, and this is how good he was last year. So I'm really excited, and again, if I was starting a team and I needed a small forward, he would be in my top 5, no doubt. He would be in my top 5. And he's very versatile. You could put him at the 2, you could put him at the 1 if you wanted to, you could put him at the 3. I have him on my small forward list. And at number 5, I have one of the clutchest players really in NBA history, and that's Jimmy Buckets. He was the guy that I had over Kawhi Leonard, and I think at this point in their careers, I would take Jimmy Butler over Kawhi. And I know that might sound crazy, but heading into next season, Jimmy Butler, I think, is a better defender than Kawhi right now, and he has come up time and time again in the playoffs in the last 3 years than Kawhi. Kawhi in 2019, that was awesome. That was 6 years ago. What have you done for me lately? Nothing. Jimmy Butler in the last 5 years, since Kawhi won that championship, has carried Miami. He almost carried Golden State without Steph last year, if he didn't lose to a guy we're about to talk about in the shooting guard position. Jimmy Butler, in the last 5 years, has been better than Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, and that's a fact. And so that's one of the reasons that I think I would take Jimmy Butler over Kawhi Leonard today. Kawhi all time is way better than Jimmy, but right now, I'm taking Jimmy Buckets all day, every day.
Jimmy Butler is interesting. I don't even have him as an honorable mention. I think his game is on the regression. I don't think he's even going to be the second option scoring for the Warriors next year, assuming they can retain Kuminga. And even if they can't, I think Podziemski could very well take over that second scoring option instead of Butler. I just think his game's on the decline. And if we're looking at individual accolades, yeah, Kawhi's individual accolades have been hurting because he has missed a lot of games throughout his career. Butler's is somehow even worse. I mean, Jimmy Butler has not played in an All-Star game since the Heat's first finals run in the bubble. I mean, it is going on 5 years since he's made an All-Star or All-NBA appearance. And yes, his playoff showings are legendary. That's why he's gotten the nickname. It's what's made him and probably a Hall of Famer. I mean, carrying the Heat to the finals twice. It was great with the Warriors. I mean, if Curry didn't get hurt, the Warriors very well could have made it to the Western Conference Finals. But I do not think Butler's game. If he was, I don't know. I don't see the argument over Kawhi. I don't see the argument over Brown. I don't see the argument over even Scotty Barnes. But I did say at the beginning, I feel like I left somebody off. Jalen Williams. I completely forgot about Jalen Williams. He made All-NBA third team last year. I mean, that's very clear-cut top 5 at your position, and I just completely forgot about him. I don't know if it was the positional confusion that got me. I mean, he could have been, like you said, he could be listed at 3-4 different positions, but Jalen Williams slipped my mind, and if I were to redo these rankings, he would for sure be on my small forward ranking.
Well, I'm glad you agree on that because he was the one guy that I forgot before I remade my rankings. I had another guy that we haven't even mentioned. I had OG Anunoby at 5 and Jimmy at 4. And then I forgot about Jalen Williams. I was like, he's definitely better than OG. So I had to slide him in there. OG, I thought he had a great season. Again, another two-way masterpiece. I think if he took another step offensively, he could be a top 5 small forward. But I do think he's a knock behind all the other guys we mentioned. And Scotty Barnes, I would take Jimmy over Scotty 10 times out of 10. I also consider Scotty a power forward, but that's just my personal opinion. But I would still take Jimmy over Scotty. And the argument for All-Star and like All-NBA, I get that's important, but that's solely based on the regular season. And again, like we had the mindset coming in of who would you take for your team? And I would assume that your team has the mindset of winning a championship. And a lot of that has to do with playoff performances. Like Jimmy Butler elevates his game so much. Like in the regular season, he's kind of boring to watch, a snooze fest. But he leads his team into the playoffs every year. And then in the playoffs, he is arguably a top 3 player in the league in the playoffs. Like, he outperforms guys like Steph and LeBron and Luka in the playoffs all the time. So I think something like that is, you just can't overstate the value of a player like that who truly rises to the occasion year after year. And it's not like he did that one year. Like, I think Tyrese Halliburton is a great player you can compare to Jimmy Butler on that playoff performance. Like, he rises to the occasion and makes big plays. But Tyrese did that 1 year. Jimmy's done that 4, maybe even 5 years. So I think that is just so important, and that's why I had to include him on my list.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, his playoff success is legendary. But if I'm remembering correctly, in the Heat's second finals run with Jimmy Butler, after they beat the Celtics in Game 7, I remember a lot of people, including myself, arguing that Caleb Martin should have been the MVP of that series instead of Jimmy Butler. Like, yes, Jimmy Butler carried them past the first round against the Milwaukee Bucks, but I don't think Butler necessarily carried them past the rest of the East. I think it was a complete team performance by the Heat, and that's what made it such an incredible Cinderella run. I mean, we had guys like Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent looking like all-stars out there on the Heat. That's what made the run so legendary. I don't think it was necessarily Butler and his carry job that is going to be remembered of that Heat run. Now, that run in the bubble, yes, that was 100% completely Butler. But your point of Kawhi, his run being 6 years ago, the bubble was 5 years ago. I mean, aside from that first round series against the Bucks, I have not seen that version of Jimmy Butler that you're describing in 5 years. I have seen Kawhi Leonard at times in that certain games look like his elite self. And that's the reason that I still take Kawhi over Jimmy, as well as a lot of other players over Jimmy.
I understand that. The Kawhi point, I understand. But a lot of other players, I can't hear that. Caleb Martin, yeah, he had a good series. But if you take Caleb Martin off that team, they probably still win the series. If you take Jimmy Butler off that team, they definitely do not win that series. That's a fact.
I would argue the complete inverse. Caleb Martin in that series looked better. He was not only the best player on the Heat. He was the best player on a floor that he shared with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now, what has Caleb Martin done since that series? Jack shit. Okay, I'm not saying Caleb Martin is a top 5 small forward or anything of the sort. But in that series, Caleb Martin was the best player on the floor. The Heat do not win that series if they do not have Caleb Martin.
Okay. I'm not going to argue about Caleb Martin on this podcast. I refuse. The guy sucks. He had a great series. Don't get me wrong. But no. All right, they probably still win that series without Caleb Martin. Okay, someone else from the streets of Miami would have been coached up by Spoelstra in 2 weeks, and he would have hit the same exact shots because that's the Heat culture. Okay, they would have done the same thing Caleb Martin did.
They could have got me at small forward, and I would have done the same thing.
Yes, that's this exact same thing. So that's my small forward list. Anything else to add before we move to the guard position?
Let's get on to shooting guards, which, in my opinion, the shooting guard position was the hardest one to rank. I do have a top 5, but wow, there were a lot of guys I feel like I left off that deserved a spot, but we'll get right into it. And I'll start with number 5, who I don't know how you're gonna feel about this. I think you might laugh at this, but at number 5 position in shooting guards, I have Tyler Hero, coming off his first All-Star appearance for the Miami Heat as the clear-cut number 1 option offensively on their team. Tyler Hero's playmaking also took a huge leap last year, which I think went unnoticed because the Heat had a down year compared to their recent Cinderella runs. No one's really paying attention to the Heat when they, were bowing out of the play when they were getting swept in the first round by the Cavs. But Hero's offensive game as a whole, not just as a scorer, took a huge leap last year. That's a big part of why he was named All-Star for the first time in his career. And I don't think anything's different on the Heat to make me think that he's not going to at least be able to match going to get all the same opportunities that he got last year. So I have Tyler here at my 5. Number 4, I have James Harden, a player who, much like KD, much like LeBron, much like AD, he is under regression. However, he is still good enough to maintain a spot as a top 5 player in his position. I mean, Harden, his scoring has taken a bit. We're not going to see that trademark step back 3 go in every time like we did it with his time on the Rockets. But as a playmaker, he is just as good, if not better, than he was in his prime because he's had to focus and rely more on that as his athleticism has diminished. I mean, he averaged double-digit assists last year, I believe, which is really impressive for a player who at one point in his career was a 30-point-per-game scorer. To be able to translate your game from score first to pass first, that's a transition that not a lot of players can make, and one that James Harden did successfully, and that's why I still think he's a top 5 player. Now, James Harden, please show up in the playoffs. That's all I'll say. Number 3, I have Devin Booker. And it should be interesting seeing him on this year with the Suns because I have very low hopes for the Suns. I think the Suns are going to be very similar to the teams that Booker was with in his first, second, third years in the league. However, that with the lack of team success will come individual success for Booker. I think he will put up numbers that we haven't seen years as the clear-cut number 1 option on his team, both scoring and playmaking. I think the ball will be in his hands for the majority of the game. I think he will have a touch in every offensive possession. And Booker and the Suns are not going to make much noise in the team this year, but Booker still should be an all-star, still should arguably be an all-NBA. I mean, he's that good. He can fill any role you need to. And I will never stop talking about his run with Team USA. They needed a player to step up and do the dirty work, the gritty work, while the big 3 of Steph, LeBron, and KD led the charge. Booker was the guy that stepped up. And they would not have won that gold medal without Devin Booker. He was so integral to that team. And it completely changed my opinion around him. He's a phenomenal player. Number 2, well, before I get into number 2, choosing between this number 1 and number 2 were so difficult, picking one over the other. But at number 2, I have Donovan Mitchell. And at number 1, I have Anthony Edwards. Both of them, well, Mitchell, I guess, isn't a young player anymore. I think he's 27, 28. He's approaching his athletic prime. But he just led the Cavs to a 1 seed. He looks as good as ever in terms of scoring, playmaking. He even took a step up. I think Darius Garland, having him as a running guard, as your point guard, it really helps in the playmaking department. It helps get Mitchell space to operate and run the pick and roll with his 2 centers. But Anthony Edwards has been crowned as the face of the league even as recently as his age 21, his third year in the league, and he's only gotten better since then. He's going to continue to mature. He's going to continue to improve as a leader on the team. And the Timberwolves, after back-to-back Western Conference Finals, are looking to break through and make that finals run that Ant has been wanting. And I mean, he's 23, 24 years old. He is young. He is only going to get better, and he is already in the league.
Yeah, I hear you there. We've got 4 similar, completely different order though, which is really cool. And I'll start at the top. I have the same 2 as you, Mitchell and Edwards, but I have them flip-flopped. I have Mitchell at 1, and this is probably going to be my hottest take of the episode. But even though Anthony Edwards is crowned as the face of the league, I think a lot of that has to do with how vocal he is off the court and how integral he is in the marketing of the NBA, similar to guys like LeBron and Steph, because the face of the league should be the better players. And in my opinion, I think Donovan Mitchell is a better player than Anthony Edwards. And that's why I have him at 1. I think Anthony Edwards last year improved his three-point shot a lot. But what did that come with? A lot of settling for jump shots. And I think Donovan Mitchell is a player who gets downhill, he gets to the basket, he does take threes and he hits them, but he does not really settle. He gets to his spot and he scores at will. It's a shame that he doesn't have the playoff success as Edwards, which hurts this argument. However, I think Donovan Mitchell is the better player. Defensively, I'd probably give the edge to Ant, but I think offensively, just the mindset Donovan Mitchell attacks with, I think he's one of the most unguardable players in the league. Like, he truly could go for 45 on any single team in the league. No doubt in my mind, he could give them 45 on any given night. And I don't think I could sit here with a straight face and say Ant could do the same right now. And that's a reason why I have Mitchell at 1. Edwards at 2, again, great player. Back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances. I think that if he can, again, improve that jump shot like he did last year, but you do not need to be taking 15 to 23s a game when you can get to the basket at will and dunk on people too. Like, that is not something you need to be doing. And I thought later in the season when he got tired and his legs were not under him, especially in that Oklahoma City series when he struggled getting to the basket, he just started chucking up threes. And I'm going to hold that against him for right now. Number 3, I have Devin Booker, like you said. I'm actually a little higher on the Suns than you are this year. I think they could get into the play-in strictly because of just the mixed match of pieces they have. It could work. It might not and probably won't, but it could, and we haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to have faith in them until they are a complete dumpster fire, which Alex anticipates them to be. At number 4, I have James Harden. I think that he is a player who he had his prime, then he took a fall off, and now he's back on the upslope, kind of. Like, he's heading back up towards his prime. He's not going to get there, but he's getting better than what he was a couple years ago, which in my head doesn't really make sense. And I'm really here for it. He was one of the best playmakers in the league last year. And I struggled considering him for the point guard position because he does play point guard for the Clippers. But I think having him in my Mount Rushmore of shooting guards, I think he's a shooting guard for this ranking as well. And then at 5, this is a guy that you didn't even mention. And we mentioned earlier, I think when we were talking centers, you mentioned somebody being the most underrated player in the league. This is my most underrated player in the league, and that is Derek White. He is, I think...
I like that. I like that, actually.
He, I think, is a top 5 shooting guard in the league, which is crazy to say out loud now that I'm saying it out loud. But I would take him over Tyler Hero. And another name that I argued in my head with was Zach LaVine. I think Derek White is better than both of them right now, and I would take him on my team over both of them. And this is something I've preached all episode. His two-way impact is truly insane. He really has improved his offensive capabilities since being on Boston, and his defense was always a strong suit coming out of college. So Derek White rounds out my top 5. A very just outlandish pick, but I think it fits.
No, I don't hate that take at all. I mean, Derek White, when I was looking at the shooting guards, I thought of the name Derek White, and I was like, no, he's not going to make it. And then I thought some more. I was like, well, he has a case. I mean, the only reason I really chose Hero over Derek White is because Hero has an all-star appearance. We've seen him lead a team we haven't seen Derek White in that number one option. And that's really the only knock I could name on Derek White, is that we haven't seen him had to lead a team. But yeah, he's a do-it-all player, great shooter, great defender, probably the best 3-and-D guy in the league right now, which is always a commodity among any team in the league. That's not a crazy take at all, honestly, having Derek White at the 5. That's something I strongly considered. But I'm also not going to disagree with your Mitchell at 1 take. Well, I do disagree, but I'm not going to argue it. I can hear out the argument. The one thing I'm going to say about that case is that Anthony Edwards has made 2 back-to-back Western Conference finals, the conference that is significantly harder than the Eastern Conference, while Donovan Mitchell has never made a conference finals throughout his career. I do think you were talking about Jimmy Butler and his post success, so I don't particularly understand how you're going to attest to Butler's post success as the reason he's on the rankings, but have Mitchell over Ant. Again, I don't disagree with it. 2 incredibly talented players. They could really go either way. It's an argument I'll hear out. It's just with the reason that you provided earlier, I don't understand that as much.
Yeah, no, I get that. And just to counteract your argument, the 1 year Ant made the Western Conference Finals, he played with a dude named Karl Anthony Towns, who is better than any teammate Donovan Mitchell has ever had. And when talking about Jimmy Butler, he carried most of these teams to where they were. Whereas Ant had, he had a good coach, and he had Cat, and he had Gobert. Last year, he had Randall. This Cavs team was loaded, but they were very inexperienced in the playoffs. So comparing playoff success for one player to another, I think is not the same, just based on the team and the environment that they're in. But I mentioned earlier, Ant definitely has more playoff success than Mitchell. But individually, I'm taking Donovan Mitchell over Ant all day.
Yeah, and I'll hear that out, right? That's a great argument. It's an argument you can easily make. We just have different thoughts there, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the playoff success between the 2.
Would you agree that Cat would be the best teammate of Donovan Mitchell's career thus far?
I would honestly make the argument Evan Mobley at this point has already eclipsed Cat's peak. I mean, I have Mobley over Cat in my center rankings. I think Mobley is an absolute stud. I am unbelievably high on him and his ceiling. I would argue Mobley, especially because of his defensive prowess. I know Cat, especially in Minnesota, his defense was consistently knocked on. His hustle, he was known as soft. And Mobley, I mean, you're never going to hear anybody call Evan Mobley soft. And, that's definitely meaningful for a pick and roll guard like Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And Cat's tenure in Minnesota, definitely got a knock on his effort and his mindset going into games, and could have been a reason they didn't make the finals that year. We'll never know. All right, so to round out our positions, we have the point guard, which is by far, I don't want to say by far, I think it's the best position in the NBA right now. I think the talent at the point guard position is absolutely loaded, and we have so many options here. And I think part of the reason that is just because of how important the point guard is. Like, if you have a great point guard on your team, you're going to go pretty far, regardless of how the rest of your roster looks. And I don't think you can say that about many other positions in the league right now. And so I'll start us off at 1. I have the reigning Finals MVP, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I do think he's the best point guard in the league right now. And after the historic point guard season he had last year, I really don't know how you could argue that heading into the season. At number 2, this is going to be a total homer pick. I'm going with Steph Curry because at this point in his career, I'm still taking Steph on my team before the guys I have below him. The shooting, again, is ridiculous. The handle is still ridiculous. And Steph Curry's defense has improved in the second half of his career. And we don't really need to talk about playoff success when it comes to Steph Curry. So I will take him at 2. And close third is Luka Doncic. He was mentioned earlier. He's going to be the number 1 option in LA. I think he's going to do great in LA. I've heard a bunch of great things on his physique in the offseason, which is really exciting because if he gets his mind right and he gets his body right, I mean, this guy could be the best player in the league this year. No doubt in my mind. He has that type of upside. So I have him at 3, right behind Steph. That was really tough for me, but I'm going to go with my guy at 2, Luka at 3. This is where it gets interesting. I think you could literally crumple up like 6 names and draw them out of a hat for 4 or 5. Like, I really think the gap between these guys is so minuscule. At number 4, I'm going with Jalen Brunson, though. Strictly from a individual perspective, he I don't think anyone expected him to be a number 1 option coming out of college based on his size and his few years with Dallas. I think a lot of people saw him as a 6-man or maybe as a really good third option on a championship level team, and he has proven over the last 2 or 3 years that he is a top 15 player in the league, no doubt. Like, and I don't think anyone really saw that coming out of Jalen Brunson, myself included. When he was with Dallas, I expected him to be like 6-man of the year candidate, very similar to like a Lou Williams type player who could put up 30 any given night, but he's not going to help you win games and win playoff series. But in New York, he's doing just that. And he did that before he got a second option in Karl Anthony Towns too. So I'm really excited to have Brunson at 4 here. I think he is just a tier above all the other guys, but it's close, and you could argue other guys. And then at 5, for the record, I would have put Tyrese Halliburton at 5 if he was healthy. I would have had him at number 5 here, but instead I'm going with one of my favorite players to watch, and that is Cade Cunningham. I think, again, from an individual perspective, he is incredible. The other name I listed here was Trae Young, who definitely has the postseason accolades over Cade. But in my opinion, I think Cade is the better player right now. I think he is a dominant force, and similar to all the young guys we've played, he hasn't hit his prime yet. And he led a rotten franchise to the playoffs last year, and he won. I mean, they should have been swept by the Knicks based on the rosters on paper. They probably should have been swept by the Knicks. And the fact that they almost forced a Game 7 is truly remarkable. So I have Cade at 5. Again, you could argue Trae Young. I think you could argue a couple other guys as well. Darius Garland maybe. But that's my 5. Cade rounds it out. What do you think?
We have 4 of the 5. Actually, in the exact same position. The top 4 are the exact same. And I did have Cade at 5, but when I was making these lists, I actually forgot about Luka Doncic at first. And much like Jalen Williams, I think the positional versatility that Doncic has may have led to me forgetting him. I mean, you could list Doncic as a point guard, shooting guard, or a small forward. And I completely forgot about him until we were talking about LeBron. And then I was like, oh my God, how did I forget about Luka? He's a very obvious top 5 candidate at any of the 3 positions I listed. So that unfortunately bumped Cade Cunningham off my list. But the top 4 are the same. Shea at 1, Curry 2, Doncic 3, Brunson 4. I think you hit the nail on the head with all of them perfectly. Shea, MVP, Finals MVP, arguably the best player in the league right now. Curry, I mean, it was close between him and Doncic, but the playoff success that Curry has had, plus just his title as the greatest shooter of all time. Again, if I had to win a championship this year, I truly think I would take Curry over Doncic. And that's a tough argument to make because I would take Doncic as a player over Curry. But in terms of scheming a team, building a team, I think it's much easier to build around a player like Curry and that's why Curry is at my 2 and Doncic is at my 3. Brunson, like you, at my 4. You nailed it on the head with Brunson. He came out of Villanova after 4 years. Rarely do we see players come come into the NBA after 4 years of college and then still be able to take a leap. Usually, if players spend 4 years in college, they're typically a finished product, and we know what NBA teams are getting when they draft them. But Brunson has improved his game so much since he's left Villanova, and the leap he has taken since he's joined the Knicks has truly been, like you said, completely unexpected by anybody, including me. So Brunson at the 4, NBA Clutch Player of the Year, although I think Halliburton has a very good case after his playoff performance. He would have been at my 5 had he been healthy over Cade and over the player that is 5, which is Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie might not be healthy this year. He has a torn ACL, and it is up in the air on whether or not Kyrie will play this year. However, I want to see Kyrie play this year, so I'm going to hope he plays this year. And it's not like Damian Lillard or Tyrese or Tatum, where they're confirmed out for the year. There's a chance Kyrie plays, so I think including him on the list is fair. I think Kyrie, even at his age, is still a top 5 point guard in the league. Still one of the most unguardable players offensively. His handle and his shiftiness, it's one of a kind. We might never see a player with the handle that Kyrie has. It's incredible. And we talked about the Mavericks a lot this year. If Kyrie comes back this year for the Mavericks and Flag and Davis have meshed well, the Mavericks are in the postseason. Sure, watch out for the Mavs, genuinely, because a big three of Flag, Kyrie, and AD could be very, very scary, especially as a lower seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, similar to how you forgot about Jalen Williams, I forgot about Kyrie simply because of that ACL. But I think if I were to remake my list, I think a healthy Kyrie I would have slightly ahead of Cade as well. And honestly, I think I'd probably have him ahead of Brunson too. A healthy Kyrie is just ridiculous. And with the bigs that they have in Dallas to carry the defensive load for Kyrie, they're going to be good. They're going to be really good this year, assuming they're all healthy and whatnot. But yes, I agree with your Kyrie take. Missing half the season will be a tough look, which is the reason why I forgot about him. But yes, I would have him on my list as well. Very solid list today. Yeah, anything else you want to add before we get to the closing segment?
Now, let's get on to this immaculate grid. I'm ready for it. We haven't done an NBA one yet.
No, we have not. So today's immaculate grid looks like a tough one. I'm not going to lie. And because we did the ranking of current players, I want to challenge ourselves to try and answer these with only current players. Do you think we can do that?
Okay, I like a challenge. We can try and make that work.
All right. So if we can't, we'll go to all-time players. Like if we physically can't think of anyone, but I would like to see if we can do it with current players only first.
I like that. It's an interesting challenge.
And the criteria here is that the players must have played in a regular season game for both teams or playoff game for both teams. So players that were on a team last year and are now on a different team this year do not count because they haven't played for that team yet, if that makes sense. And I only say that because the first slot on here is a guy that popped in my head instantly, and that is Anthony Simons. Because the first one is Boston and Portland. But Anthony Simons would not qualify because he hasn't played a game yet for Boston. So, can we think?
Drew Holiday just popped in my head, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah, Drew Holiday.
Robert
also,
Williams, Time Lord.
Yes. Okay, Robert Williams, who may not be playing for much longer. But yes, Robert Williams, still current player. Bang, 17%. Is he still on the Blazers? And we'll throw that up there.
I'd like to see that.
For the fans. Yeah, I think he is on the Blazers. Maybe he's on Phoenix now. Phoenix has the most random roster. I really don't know. But I think he's still on Portland. We can double check that. All right, next up, we have Boston and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So another obvious one is Kevin Garnett, but he's retired. So
yeah,
I'm trying to think of current players.
Boston and Minnesota.
Like, that's a tough one. It's like Kemba Walker never played for Minnesota, right?
No, he never did.
And Patrick Beverley never played for Boston. Even though, wait, is he retired?
I don't think so, but he's unsigned. He's probably going to go play in Europe. Who played for Boston and Minnesota? I feel like there's... Did Joe Ingles never played for Boston, did he?
I don't think so. I think he played for Utah and he played for Dallas.
He's played for Minnesota. He's on Minnesota right now, Joe Ingles. All right, we can come back to Boston, Minnesota.
Yeah. All right, next one. This one's the easiest one I'm looking at is Boston Finals MVP. I mean, that's quite easy. Jaylen Brown from 2 years ago.
Give it to him.
33%. Not bad. All right, next up we have the Lakers and the Trailblazers.
DeAndre Ayton hasn't played for the Lakers.
Alex Len, I think, right?
Was he on? Yeah, he is on the Trailblazers. That hell of a pull, Max. We like to see that.
I'm
pretty sure he's played for the
like
Lakers.
To see that.
I think he's on the Blazers now.
It's wrong.
We didn't sell, did we? We didn't sell. We sold? He never played for the Lakers?
There's no way.
Alex Len never played for... Damn. Okay.
Well. What? I was really confident in that. I'm not going to lie. I was very...
Lakers and Trailblazers. We can't use DeAndre Ayton. Oh, I mean,
Nurkic.
we got that wrong.
Nurkic didn't play for the Lakers.
Nurkic, he was never a Laker. No.
Jeremy Grant never played for the Lakers.
Oh no, Carmelo is retired. No, I thought I just cooked with that.
Yep, Carmelo would have worked, but he's retired.
Fuck.
Max Christie? No, he went to Dallas.
Yeah, no, he's never a Trailblazer.
So sad. I really thought I cooked.
Jackson Hayes was never a Trailblazer.
No, I really thought I cooked with Alex Len. I'm not gonna lie. That's horseshit that didn't just work.
Yeah, that's a hit on the morale right there.
All right, moving on. Lakers Timberwolves.
D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah. Who does he play for now? I don't think he plays for either of these teams now.
Mavericks. He's on the Mavericks now.
Buns. 42%. Pretty obvious one there. All right. Lakers Finals MVP. I mean, come on. LeBron James.
LeBron James.
LeBron James. All right. 15% said LeBron James.
The Lakers.
Who the hell? I guess there's been a lot of
Probably
Lakers
Kobe
Finals.
Or Magic or
lot of
Kareem.
Lakers Finals
There's
MVP.
been Shaq. There's quite a few to choose from.
All right, so here we go. This one's an interesting one. These next three need to be players born outside of the United States.
Oh, okay.
So a player on Portland, or that's played for Portland, born outside the United States. We just mentioned him. Nurkic, definitely.
Yeah. Or Tumani Kamara.
That seems like less people would say that. 2%.
The U.S.
Great poll.
Love to see
Great
that.
poll. That'll bring the numbers
there's
down.
An unbelievable amount of international players in the league right now. This really should not be a challenge at all.
Yeah.
We should be able to get some deep polls for this.
All right, so born outside the U.S. and has played for Minnesota. The one that comes to my head is Rudy Gobert, obviously.
Gobert is the obvious one, yeah.
McDaniels he's for American, even though I feel like he's.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's American. I feel they have Joe Ingles. He's Australian.
He played this year for Minnesota, though, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going Joe Ingles. That's got to be another 2%er. 2%. What a pull. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Last one that we haven't talked about yet. Born outside the United States and Finals MVP. Very interesting one. Jokic is the obvious one.
Giannis, Jokic, Shea. I mean, there's tons of them. Shea was Canadian. Giannis,
I know, but
Jokic,
I'm trying to think of like random polls, like Finals MVP.
You're not gonna get many random polls if you're talking about Finals MVPs. And if we're talking about current players, I mean, before Giannis, I think the most recent international one was Dirk, and he's retired. So I don't think there's going to be. I mean, the Warriors Cavs dominated the 2010s, and that was.
I honestly think Shea will probably be the least answered one out of him, Giannis, and Jokic.
Instead of Jokic or Giannis, all right, we'll go with Shea.
8%. Yeah, I think Giannis and Jokic probably would have been higher than 8%. All right, so we've got one guest left, and we have 2 boxes to fill, which is really unfortunate. We could either double down on the Lakers Blazers or try and get the Celtics Timberwolves.
I really have no idea who would qualify for the Celtics. Jordan McLaughlin was never a Celtic, was he?
No.
Or what about Sam Hauser? Is he ever a Timberwolf?
No. Al Horford never played for Minnesota, did he?
No.
And DiVincenzo never played for the Celtics, did he?
Mm-mm.
Randall never played for the Celtics.
Jeremy Grant was never a Laker. My mind keeps going back to DeAndre Ayton, but he's not.
He hasn't played. Yeah, he hasn't played a game yet.
Matisse Thybulle.
He played for the Lakers. He played for the Lakers.
I feel pretty sure that he has.
He played for Philadelphia, and then
he was drafted with Philly, but he's bounced around the league. I thought he maybe not.
I don't know if he's played for the Lakers. It's a good guess, and I'm willing to guess it if we can't think of anyone else. But I don't know if he played for the Lakers. I think he went straight from Philly to Portland.
I thought he got. He's bounced around. He's been on the 3rd team, a 4th team. I know that.
Gabe Vincent never played for Portland, did he?
No.
Dame never played for the Lakers. CJ McCollum never played for the Lakers. Boston, Minnesota.
Nurkic.
This is so tough.
Yeah, this is getting rough.
Current players, this is tough. I mean, we've already thought of 2 for each all time that we could throw in there.
I don't think there is a current player in the NBA that has played for the Lakers and the Blazers.
It's got to be someone who's not on the team like now. It's got to be like someone who's on the 3rd team. Like,
I'm trying to think of reserve guys, got 5th, 6th year guys who get traded every trade deadline.
Yeah.
Luke Ridnour would be my go-to, but unfortunately, he's not active anymore. But he's played for 13 NBA teams, which is the record. So shout out Luke Ridnour.
Like, what about like Nick Batum? Like, would he played for Portland?
He's never been a Laker. Yeah, he's never been a Laker.
I thought that was a crazy pull right there. Or like one of the Morris twins. Marcus Morris, Markieff.
Yeah,
I know they played for the Lakers, and I feel like I've seen them play for Portland. But
I feel like you might have been onto something with that.
But are they current? Do they still? Yeah, they still play. They play for the Lakers, don't they? Or Markieff. All right. Do you want to guess?
I can't tell the difference between the
two. Do you want to guess Thibault or one of the Morris twins for Lakers Blazers?
Final answer. Let's go Marcus Morris.
Marcus Morris. All right. All right. Marcus Morris retired in 2024, so we're gonna go with Markieff Morris instead.
Okay. Yes, that's obviously what I meant.
Markieff. I don't even know how you spell that. Yep, Markieff Morris is still playing. All right, here we go. Wrong. Dang. We went 0 for
7 of 9.
And we went 0 for 2 Lakers Blazers. We missed that one twice.
Yeah, that's bad.
All right, so
are there any current players who have played for the
I'm gonna look at the list right now. So, how do you see? All right, so the most popular answers were the ones we mentioned. Carmelo for the Lakers Blazers and Garnett for Celtics Timberwolves. That was the most popular answer. So, we'll start with the Celtics Timberwolves current players. PJ Dozier, does he still play?
I don't think so. I thought he was on the Nuggets.
Yeah, all these guys are
for the Celtics.
No,
they're Dozier played.
All right, to answer your like Jeff Teague, he retired 3 years ago. Noah Vonleh retired 2 years ago. Yeah, no, there's not a current player that we could have gotten for that. All right, that makes me feel a little better.
Okay, I don't feel bad about that.
All right, Lakers,
Blazers. Now the top 2 are Carmelo Anthony and Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, both retired.
And a guy by the name of Billy Ray Bates. Who is Billy Ray Bates? It's a great question.
We had it.
Who do we forget?
Josh Hart. Josh Hart. He played for both teams.
He was on the Blazers. Oh
I
my!
know. All right.
I forgot about.
We
Hart
sold
on the Blazers.
Yeah, because he played for the Lakers with Lonzo and Kuzma.
Yeah, he got drafted by the Lakers. He won Summer League MVP.
He played, and then he played 1 season with Portland before getting traded to the Knicks.
God. Yes, because the highlight of him judging James Hart after Harden smacked himself in the face with the ball. Hart was on the Blazers there.
Another current player, Larry Nance. He played for both teams too.
Okay, I would not have named Larry Nance. I feel bad about Josh Hart. I would Larry Nance.
Another current player, Gary Payton, who now plays for Golden State, played for both teams. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
He played for Portland before we traded for him, but I never knew he was a Laker. You could not have told me that Gary Payton played for the Lakers.
We really messed up that category.
Another one.
Players.
Cam Reddish played for the Lakers and the Blazers.
When was he on the Blazers? He got drafted by the Hawks. He got traded to the. What is this?
I don't know.
Was he on a 10-day contract?
I think he may have played for Portland last year. I think they didn't. Wait.
Oh no.
Who did they trade for last year?
No.
I don't know.
We have sold the bag.
And fun fact, Ime Udoka also played for both those teams. Fun fact. So
that is a fun fact.
All right, so that'll wrap up the top 5 episode with an absolute brutal finish to the Immaculate Grid, as me and Alex forget multiple
Things we did
names
not like to see.
that we should have gotten. Josh Hart definitely was the most obvious one. I can't believe I didn't think about
gonna
that.
piss me off.
But I mean, you can't hit them all, I guess. Josh Hart is going to be in my nightmares tonight, so there's that. But thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. Let us know what you guys want to see before the season starts, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys then. Peace.
Peace.